Director. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to share these remarks on behalf of Lise Kingo, who very much regrets that due to her flight cancellation, she was not able to join us. We want to commend the Joint Inspection Unit and the World Association for Sustainable Development for putting together such a diverse group of representatives from all sectors and preparing such a wide-ranging program covering many dimensions of Agenda 2030. I'm sure it will be a rich and very productive few days for us all. There are certainly a number of very compelling policy ideas on the table for us to discuss this week, not the least being the insightful report which Inspector Dumitriou and his team have prepared on UN business partnerships in the context of Agenda 2030. It was very encouraging to see such strong alignment between the inspector's policy proposals and the vision of our Secretary General in his recent reports on repositioning the UN development system, as well as the SG's Towards Global Partnerships report to the General Assembly last year. It is so important that we are all pulling in the same direction when it comes to UN business partnerships. In that regard, we were very pleased to see the inspector's major emphasis on strengthening system-wide approaches to UN business collaboration. This is really critical to fully harnessing the potential of private sector engagement. And we couldn't agree more that the time has come for the UN to embrace a more coordinated approach to policymaking on private sector partnerships and to develop more effective mechanisms for doing so. If we're to truly leverage the power of business in achieving the SDGs, it's imperative that we ensure that business has a clear, accessible, and consistent set of expectations when it comes to partnering with the UN. It's been said many times, but we feel it bears repeating, business tends to view the UN as a singular entity. Now, this poses a real challenge when, in reality, we're a massive, decentralized global organization. We're a diverse constellation of different entities with varying mandates, different objectives, and different governance structures. So adopting a coordinated approach is admittedly easier said than done. But the good news is, from Switzerland to Sudan, from Argentina to Indonesia, indeed in every corner of the planet, the 2030 Agenda offers us a powerful common language and a roadmap for a better world. The unifying force of the SDGs has certainly inspired the UN Global Compact across every element of our operations. In fact, at the same time as the JIU was preparing its report, the Compact was putting finishing touches on a global 2020 strategy designed to jumpstart progress on the SDGs over the next few years. In preparing our global strategy, we met and heard from over 1,500 stakeholders across business, civil society, local networks, UN partners, and governments. And what emerged was a resounding desire for the Compact to build on our core strengths as a normative, principle-based, and inclusive UN entity to become the translator of the SDGs for business everywhere. Our new strategy aims to amplify our existing work on the 10 principles while driving business action on the SDGs, particularly through business innovation and supporting multi-stakeholder partnerships that can drive local progress on the 2030 Agenda. Indeed, one of the most important elements of our strategy is our plan to strengthen and empower our local networks to drive real measurable progress on national sustainable development priorities. We want to thank the leadership of our local networks, and I know some of them are with us today, for their tireless work as champions of the SDGs, mobilizing their local business communities, and building partnerships across sectors in the process. A new set of operational quality standards, newly created regional liaison posts, new regional and global network councils, a new dedicated fund to support emerging networks and to launch new networks, and a more systematic approach to deeper relationships with UN country teams are just a few ways that we're striving to empower the local networks to drive real change on the ground, in particular in developing countries and emerging markets. Over half of our 9,500 company participants come from developing markets, and over half of our participants are SMEs, and more than half of our local networks are based in developing countries. And so, as our strategy recognizes, one of the most important contributions the Compact can make to the SDGs will involve mobilizing these key constituencies to advance local development priorities. Another key element of our new strategy was a review of our governance structure. At the same time that the JIU was drafting its report, the Compact was undertaking extensive consultations on our governance model. We consulted a wide range of stakeholders before submitting proposals to the Secretary General for his consideration in his capacity as chair of our board. As a special initiative of the Secretary General, the Global Compact reports to and is closely guided by the Secretary General. But as a uniquely multi-stakeholder UN initiative, we felt it was also critical to ensure that our governance structure is fit for purpose in the new SDG era and gives all of our different stakeholder groups a strong voice in the Compact's agenda setting and oversight. As an outcome of this exercise, we've introduced an updated governance model that provides a clear role for governments, business, local networks, and civil society to support the Secretary General in guiding our initiative. I'm sure over the next few days there will be many topics where there may be disagreements among us on the role of business in advancing sustainable development, and where the proper parameters and frameworks of public-private partnerships may be disputed. Such debate is healthy and should be welcomed, in particular here at the United Nations. There are more than 3,000 civil society participants in the Global Compact, and we very much value their engagement as critical friends. And as these partners so often remind us, business can be a tremendous force for good, but without a principle-based approach and a commitment to operating responsibly, pursuit of profit can undermine the health of people and planet. And that is why frameworks such as the 10 principles of the Global Compact and the guiding principles on business and human rights are so very important. At the end of the day, as the inspector himself has quite articulately noted, the private sector needs a powerful motivation to engage in the 2030 agenda. We hope that the proceedings of this conference will bring us one step closer to better understanding and harnessing those motivations. We wish you all a very productive meeting. Thank you.
So please remember, if we all help and do a little bit, it will make a big difference.